Hey everyone! Thanks for joining us again on our adventures. Last time we got together, we had started our adventure into Canada. We visited northern Canada, which contains the Nunavut, Northwest, and Yukon territories. Does anyone remember the estimated population for Canada?
38 million people?
That's right! The estimated population is 38.04 million people. Who can tell me what two languages are spoken in Canada?
English and French.
Correct. And now for the tough question. Most of Canada speaks English, except for which place?
Quebec?
Wow, you guys did amazing today. I had mentioned that English was spoken throughout all of Canada, except for Quebec. Great job, everyone. Now on to today's adventure. We are going to head out to Western Canada. Western Canada is made up of 4 provinces: British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. But today our focus will be on British Columbia. Let's get this adventure started. A lot of you have probably heard of the Rocky Mountains, but did you know that the Rocky Mountains start from the northern part of British Columbia and extend all the way down to New Mexico? These mountains cover over 3,000 miles. It is also believed that the mountains extend up to the Yukon Territory and maybe even parts of Alaska, which would give it an even larger cover. There are so many different habitats within these mountain ranges. What other things can we find besides the mountains in British Columbia? Well, you have the boreal forests, the river valleys, and the rainforest. Now, the rainforest here are not the same as the tropical rainforest we know of. The temperatures of a tropical rainforest are always warm, with lots of rain. The rainforest in British Columbia can be anywhere between near freezing temperatures and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I don't know about you, but that is my perfect temperature range. The wildlife in Canada is so amazing, from the animals of the land to the birds of the sky to even the salmon of the water. Now, these little guys are actually really interesting because they are hatched in the rivers. They swim upstream through the rapids and waterfalls just so they could end up in the ocean. But what's even more amazing about them is that once they mature, they return to the spawning grounds. Now, unfortunately for these fish, once they reproduce, they pass away shortly after. But this is the wonderful part of the circle of life, because after they pass away, their floating bodies become food to other wildlife animals, including bears and wolves, among other animals. And now we're going to head over to Vancouver Island, where one of the largest standing rainforests is located. Cathedral Grove has trees that have been around for as long as 800 years. Can you imagine standing in the middle of this forest with trees reaching as tall as 250 feet? I can only imagine that if I did, I would finally know what an ant feels like next to us. Some of these trees found here would be large versions of the Douglas fir trees and cedars. Cedars were used a lot by the indigenous people as they used them to create canoes, totem poles, and even used the inner bark to create baskets, rope, and even clothing. The food in British Columbia is a lot different than the foods we have learned about in our previous adventures. If you remember, in Greenland and northern Canada, their diet was pretty much an all-meat diet. British Columbia is a lot different as they have access to their wildlife as well as all kinds of salmon, halibut, rockfish, shrimp, and even crab. Hey, little guy, you better get back in the ocean before you become someone's dinner. Not only do they get the meat, but they also have access to a larger variety of fruits and vegetables as well. Let's head back over to Vancouver before we end our adventure for today. Vancouver is Canada's third largest city with over 2.2 million people living here. There is such a large diversity in this city because of the amount of people. Not only do they get to enjoy their local traditional foods, but because of the diversity of people, they get to eat other foods from different parts of the world. The winter here are milder than the rest of Canada. There are so many more things we can learn about British Columbia, but our adventure has come to an end. Come back tomorrow when we go on an adventure to the prairies and Ontario. Hope you enjoyed this adventure with us, and as always, until next time.